Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Wilder School Lunch and Learn series. We're eager to have you join us today. Our session is entitled Looking Back, Leading Forward, a conversation with Dean Susan T. Gooden. Thank you for joining us for these free virtual events that happen monthly like this one. We focus on discussing relevant topics and connecting you with thought leaders in our community. My name is Stevan Dozier. I'm the Senior Director of Development at the Wilder School. And before we get started, I have a couple of updates for you, and then we'll introduce our speaker. Are you or someone you know interested in pursuing a degree at the L. Douglas Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs? Apply now before the fall application 2026 deadlines that you see on your screen. Just scan the QR code. You can stay connected beyond today's webinar by following the Wilder School YouTube channel. It only takes a moment to like and subscribe. There's always something happening at the Wilder School. Don't forget to check the chat for more links, for more info. Since we're doing things a little different today, I encourage you to submit your questions for our speaker early and often. Our speaker today is none other than our esteemed Dean Susan Gooden, who has led the L. Douglas Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs longer than any other dean currently serving at VCU. That's 8 years of building a legacy that will long outlast her time here. Under her leadership, the Wilder School has climbed more than 20 spots in the national rankings, has founded the Research Institute for Social Equity, and built an award-winning fellowship program supporting graduate students across the Commonwealth. Notably, recently, she became the first Black recipient of the Dwight Waldo Award in its 45-year history. A true Virginia original from Martinsville. Welcome, Dean Susan Gooden.
Thank you so much, Stevan. It's truly a delight to be here with all of you this afternoon.
Before we get started, I encourage everyone to check out the link that I'm dropping in the chat now for more information on Dean Susan Gooden's bio. And without further ado, we'll get started. Dean Gooden, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Stevan. Thanks so much. Delighted to be able to join you this afternoon, and welcome to all of our attendees.
Excited to have you. We're going to go ahead and jump in. Like I said, we're not holding any punches, okay?
All right, that's right.
Let's take it back. Before we begin talking about the successes of the Wilder School, when you first stepped in as interim dean back in May 2018, what were your initial thoughts about the challenges you were walking into, and how did that reality measure up to your expectations?
Well, certainly it was very surreal. You said, back in 2018, when I first became interim, this was nothing that I aspired to do, was to become dean, or I didn't have administrative aspirations at the time. Had been a long-term Wilder School faculty member. And so it was really an honor to know that my colleagues had actually recommended that I serve in this capacity. But it was also surreal because in addition to being dean, I was being dean of the L. Douglas Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs. And so my respect and admiration for Governor Wilder, of course, long predates me becoming interim dean of the school. I had the pleasure of attending Governor Wilder's historic inauguration. We were not from a very political family, but my father insisted that we were driving to Richmond for that inauguration. And so we were out there in the cold. And to say we were in nosebleed seats would be, a step up. I mean, we were way, way far back. So now to say, fast forward and to be dean of the Wilder School was indeed an honor. And one thing I would like to share with the group, one of the first things that I did when I became dean is I met with Governor Wilder, and of course had known him from being a colleague and a distinguished faculty member in our school. But I shared with him that when I received a fellowship back doing my master's at Virginia Tech, I wrote a letter to him. He was governor at the time, and I thanked him for the scholarship, the educational opportunities that were being afforded to me, completely on a whim, completely on a whim. And then he wrote back to me, and I saved that letter, still have it to this day. And I just want to read three sentences from that letter that I thought were very inspirational. It was dated July 30th, 1991. This goes back, this was before I was even married. So it came to Susan Tinsley, not to Susan Gooden. And it said, in part, by continuing your education, you have taken an important step toward acquiring the skills and abilities necessary to guarantee your success in an increasingly complex and competitive world. The perseverance and determination you have displayed thus far will serve you well in whatever field or occupation you choose to pursue. I encourage you to continue striving to reach your full potential, regardless of the obstacles along the way. And I assure you that the results will be well worth the effort. Very truly yours, Lawrence Douglas Wilder. And so this has always been an inspiration for me to say, of course, he was seeing far ahead of what I saw, and that this has been indeed a rewarding career that has been more than worth the effort.
Wow. And the foresight, right? It's amazing to see how far your leadership has come. Let's continue on that topic. The school has seen significant gains under your leadership, climbing as high as 34th in U.S. News rankings, up from 56. In your mind, what does national prominence really mean for you?
I take credit for alone. It was the collective work of all of us, our faculty, our staff, our students, our alumni, and our peers, who vote in the rankings as well. But I think what happened is that one of the things that we did try to do intentionally was to amplify all the great work that was happening in the Wilder School. So a lot of things, our faculty, the books, the articles, the awards, a lot of things that our faculty members were doing. We're kind of an humble group, and so people just do their own thing and all of that. And I think we were able to elevate considerably the visibility of our work through our communications efforts. The Commonwealth poll, which became a CNN recognized poll. I mean, we were able to, I think, pulling together really amplify a lot of the great work that was done. And I think that translated there. So in my estimation, we really took our rightful place among other schools of government and public affairs. And I was very proud to be a part of that effort.
No, that's huge, and I agree. Our collective effort allows us to be nationally recognized. Before you even took the role of dean, you founded the Wilder Fellows Program in 2006, which supported 231 graduate students and invested over $6 million since its inception. Now in its 20th year, the program has 28 fellows, which is up from 7 when it first started. What motivated you to create such an impactful program?
So, interestingly enough, I was a faculty member in the Wilder School and I was serving as director of graduate studies. And one of the things that we did were try to recruit excellent students. And one of the things that we recognized was a big challenge was being able to provide funding for our master students in particular, because oftentimes our graduate assistantship funding, the priority is for our doctoral students. And so we would have great master students that we would lose every year because we did not have, we were not able to offer enough assistantships to them. So the first thing I did is I dutifully went and talked to then the dean of the graduate school, Doug Boudneau, who's long since retired, and said, hey, we need more graduate assistantships here at the Wilder School. And he was, basically he said, which was right, we have a great need across the university for more graduate assistantships. I just, talked to the director of Department X a few minutes ago. They need graduate assistantships too. So I recognized that there were going to be few resources to, I might be successful in getting one or two more GTAs, and probably at the expense of some bruise fillings across campus. So I said, let's find another route. And so I went to then Dean Bob Holsworth, and I asked him, I said, Dr. Holsworth, I have an idea here. If we could get state agencies to fund a graduate assistantship and have that student, that master student, work in a state agency the full academic year, but they get paid the equivalent of a graduate assistantship, meaning they get the tuition support and the stipend support. I think that would be a win-win, a win for VCU and the Wilder School, a win for the students that we're able to recruit, and a win for the state agencies because they're able to preview an employee, a potential employee. There's no guarantees after, but the experience that the agency is able to give the student allows them to put the student to work on a great project. And so it just blossomed from there. And we have had over 100 agencies, mostly state agencies, but not all. We've had local, we have nonprofit, and even some private agencies. So, and there are a lot of state agencies out here. So some of them I didn't even know what they did, like the Virginia Motor Vehicle Dealer Board. I was like, what do they do? And so I was able to really just pound the pavement, get out there. But the other thing that I'll say I'm really proud of, I mean, we've had fellows at the Virginia Retirement System, the Virginia Resources Authority, JLARC. I mean, the list goes on and on. Chesterfield County. I mean, we've really had wonderful partners in all of these efforts. But one of the things that I think I'm most proud of is anytime you leave something, I think that you should try to recruit someone who's going to even do much better. And so Lindsay Evans is the current director of the Wilder Fellows Program. So you said when we first started, we only had 7. Obviously, we got a great person directing it now. We have 28. And the opportunity for our fellows is just really transformative. Oftentimes, they end up working at that agency that they had the Wilder Fellows placement at, or they work at another agency. We've got 3 Wilder Fellows at the airport. I mean, just it really is amazing to see this program. So we're excited, actually. In October of 2026, we will be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Wilder Fellows program. And so now it's become a little easier because we have a lot of Wilder Fellows alumni who are now in senior leadership positions and are able to pay it forward by supporting another Wilder Fellow.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say we're celebrating the 20th year anniversary in October, and we look forward to having our fellows, alumni, back on campus to join us in this celebration. And before I move into our next section, I have to acknowledge the folks in the chat. We have folks coming in from Texas, Alexandria, Louisville, Kentucky, Hanover, Maryland, even as far as none other than Vienna, Austria, joining us today, Dean Gooden. So just in case, I wanted to give you a chance to say anything you wanted to say to those folks as well that are joining us from around the country and outside the country.
Well, no, thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate it. When we were about 5 minutes in, I saw, I think, 13 people, and I said, oh, well, this might be a very thin crowd, but I'm glad to see we have so many attendees. He's talking about Vienna, and of course, that's a shout out to my daughter, Caper, who lives in Vienna, she and her husband, and my brand new, very first grandchild, Bonnie. So I really am appreciative of them joining. But I'm also seeing, you don't want to start naming names, but I'm seeing people, Fred Doolittle, who we go way back at MDRC many years ago. I mean, it's really great to see all of the supporters and attendees, family, friends, supporters of the Wilder School, faculty, staff, colleagues, and peers around the world. I see Ambu on here from India. That's far away as well. So I just want to say thanks to all of you for making time to join us today. And sorry, I can't give a personal shout out to all the names.
Yeah, more names started rolling in as we started shouting out. So I just want to thank everyone who's joining us internationally and here in the States as well. Let's talk about a little bit, about from where you are from, and shift gears and tell a little bit more about yourself personally to our audience. Growing up in Martinsville and attending Patrick Henry Community College, you had the opportunity to go anywhere, yet you chose to start at a community college. What lessons did your upbringing in Martinsville teach you? And what informed your decision to enroll in a community college? Can you share some of the experience that shaped you in your formative years?
Sure. Well, anyone who knows me knows that I'm very proud to be from Martinsville. I'm a proud Bulldog, Martinsville Bulldog, 1986. So very proud of that. Actually grew up in Bassett, Virginia, which is just outside of Martinsville and on Sunset Drive. And one of the things that shaped me the most, I think, in that experience, many things, but I had the great fortune of growing up on a street in which not only did we live on that street, but both sets of my grandparents lived on that street. I won't even say a street, it's a country, so it was a road. So all of us lived on that road. My parents actually grew up across the street from each other. They went to their high school prom together. I had several aunts and uncles on the street because my dad was an only child, but my mom is one of 12. And so I really had a strong sense of family and community. But you also got a chance to see through your church experience and your school experience that there is a diversity of experiences. Some had more than others. But I think as a community, it really led me to really think about what is the impact of community, and how do we look out for each other? How do we try to help each other and support each other? And all of those things sort of go back to my rich legacy at Martinsville. You mentioned Patrick Henry Community College. So interesting there. I mean, it was one of those things. So, I understand that sometimes community colleges don't get the respect that they, quite frankly, are owed. I mean, they do some of the hardest work. They often take some of the most challenging educational situations and students and really send them off on their way, and they do remarkable things. Um, but my dad actually was a very strong proponent of community colleges. I had one sister, she's now deceased, but we both went to community college. So we both graduated from Patrick Henry Community College. She went on and graduated from Radford, Gwen. I went on and graduated from Virginia Tech. My dad was very thrifty. And so one of the things he figured out very quickly is that if we both went to community college and then went on, he essentially really only had to pay for 4 years of higher education because the community college was so economical. I was a little bit more difficult to convince than my older sister. And so one of the things that he did to sweeten the pot was to tell me that when I did go to community college, I mean, to transfer to a 4 year institution, that I would be able to live off campus in an apartment with a roommate and would not have to live on campus. And so he sweetened the deal. I decided I would stay at Patrick Henry Community College, which was great, had a wonderful education. So I never stayed in a dorm. That's one of the things that I've never done is lived in a dorm because I struck that great deal with my dad. But I'll also say that when I think about the educational experiences afforded to me at community college, they were absolutely excellent. I've been proud to serve as a past member and board chair of the Virginia Community College System. I was pleased to serve in that capacity. And our oldest cousin, who we raised as a son, Donnie, also graduated from New River Community College. So we also practice what we preach. I am a strong advocate and proponent of community colleges.
Well, speaking of your father and practicing what you preach, your father was both a pastor and an educator. One part focusing on the soul, one part focusing on the mind. How did growing up with him and your mother in that environment influence your views on public service and leadership?
Right. Well, again, I think that both of my parents and my grandparents, because I don't want to leave them out, they were very strong. Again, we were all on the same road. So, I mean, you had the influence of family and the love and the support and the criticism of family that was there as well. Um, my father, in particular, had a motto that I've tried to actually adopt in Dean as Dean. He always said, you need to be firm, you need to be fair, and you need to be friendly. I will also say one thing that he didn't include in his firm, fair, and friendly. I think you also need to be forgiving, and he was that as well. And so, that was, I think that really sort of has served me well in life. You do have to make decisions, and all those decisions oftentimes are not popular. And so you do have to be decisive. And so you do have to be firm. You do want to be fair. And so you
Mm.
want to really consider, the implications of your decisions and to try to operate as fairly as possible. But you also want to be friendly. Everybody is connected to folks who love them and care about them. And so trying to have a point of connection with your colleagues, your peers, I think that's really important. And to be forgiving. Things will happen along the way. You really have to, and especially in leadership roles, you have to let it roll off your back. You can't take those things personally. My father always had a path to redemption, even as a child when we grew up. The punishment didn't last forever. We were going to get punished if we did something wrong, but we were going to get over it too, and the sun was going to come up tomorrow. So I think, in particular, those were some of the concepts that I learned and integrated from my father.
True words of wisdom. Let's talk about a little bit of personal achievement. Last year, you received the prestigious Dwight Waldo Award from the American Society of Public Administration. This honor reflects decades of service in our field, including key leadership roles in ASPA, as I mentioned earlier, the National Academy of Public Administration, the network of schools of public policy affairs and administration. How do you feel about reaching such a significant milestone? And what does this recognition mean to you in light of the work you've done?
No, I mean, receiving the Dwight Waldo Award definitely was a very, very high honor. As you mentioned, in the 45-year history, there had never been an African American recipient. And so I was deeply honored. It recognizes 25 years, more than 25 years of scholarship, scholarly excellence in research. So it was definitely a real honor. On top of that, Dwight Waldo actually was a faculty member at Syracuse University at the Maxwell School, where I received my PhD. And so I had an opportunity to meet him as well when I was a student there. And so I did actually have an opportunity to meet him. And so I knew the things that he had done, the Middlebrook conferences, a lot of his work on the enterprise of public administration and, just his scholarly work. So to be the recipient of an award in his honor was truly, truly just amazing. I will also say, though, so that's in credit to scholarship, and as you mentioned, ASPA and NASPA and our professional associations. But I also want to give a big shout out because a lot of my research career was also defined by the many, many research opportunities I had from MDRC. MDRC used to stand for the Manpower Demonstration Research Corporation. They dropped the name. They now just go by the letters MDRC, and I'm a proud board member, honored to be a board member there. They're based in New York, very highly respected social policy think tank. And so they kept me on projects from my early days when I was a faculty member at Virginia Tech as an assistant professor, all the way up until the time that I became dean. And at that point, I knew I needed to. I may not be able to meet the project deadline, so I took a hiatus. But they were certainly the wonderful research experiences that I had working with such a talented group of folks really had a strong impact on my accomplishments and my scholarship as well. In addition to, as you mentioned, the National Academy of Public Administration, ASPA, NASPA, very proud to be able to serve as former presidents of both of those organizations. And I see a couple of the former presidents here, Harvey White's on here. All of those things. I mean, just being surrounded by support, I think was just incredible.
Well, that's tremendous. And before we move into the next section, I encourage anyone who's attending to start filling the chat with your questions for Dean Gooden. Dean Gooden, as we look into the future and into that crystal ball of public service and social equity, you're stepping away from the dean's role at a particularly complex time for higher education and schools of public affairs, with federal workforce cuts, debates surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion, the political pressures on our institutions, what does public service look like in this current environment? And importantly, is the field prepared to adapt and thrive in this new landscape?
Great question. Public service will endure. It's essential. Oftentimes I was actually meeting with a group of students and speaking with them earlier this week through the Policy Pathways program that Dr. Pulani Lucas runs. And I was sharing with the students that public policy and public administration, public affairs affects everything that we do. When we were right before we were getting ready to join this session that Monday morning, the fire alarm went off and we all had to exit the building. Fortunately, there wasn't a fire. We came back in. But I said, that's public policy. We have exit signs in buildings because they're, public policy that requires them. And so, I think oftentimes when we think about public sector work, it's like oxygen. You don't miss it until it's gone, right? So you just take it for granted. You go about your day. You're expecting that the highway is going to be marked. You're expecting that. I remember I was visiting, had to do a conference in Rwanda several years ago, and we were in Kigali, and we came across an accident on the side of the road. And I said, well, how long will it take before, the 911 folks come? And
Mhm.
they said, we don't have emergency services. We don't have 911. You have to wait for a private citizen to come by and help transport the individual to the hospital.
Mhm.
And so I think oftentimes the things that we think about that are public services, we
Mhm.
really just take for granted. We
Mhm.
just expect that they're going to be there, that we're going to have clean water, that we know what's in our food because we can look at the labels on the packet. Gas prices, we might complain about them, but we know we're getting a gallon of gas because it's calibrated. And so all of these things are public sector functions, public
Mhm.
policy functions that impact our everyday life. So, regardless of what's going on, public service is going to endure. It is essential, it is important,
Mhm.
and it's here to stay.
That's such a great point. We shouldn't narrow our scope of what public service is. It touches our lives in a lot of different ways. Switching back to, your stepping down, I mean, you're after your upcoming year of research leave, what does it mean for you to rejoin our amazing faculty cohort after spending 8 years as the dean?
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to rejoining my colleagues. I couldn't be a bigger champion for the Wilder School, and I feel very fortunate to have served as a faculty member and to have had the honor to serve as dean for 8 years. And I know a special surprise toward we get to the end. I want to also save time to introduce our incoming interim dean and let folks see her and know how much support that she has as well. So I'm going to look for, I tell everybody that I'm still on the team. I'm just going to be playing a different position. And so I'm looking forward to rejoining the faculty. I'm looking forward to teaching, research, service, the work that we're doing. And I will say, I would suspect that my family might also be looking forward to it quite a bit. I certainly want to thank my wonderful husband, Basil, of more than 33 years, who has, been my side every step of the way, has always been just completely supportive, even when both of us were, out there. I think we'll look back one day and wonder how we did all of this. I mentioned our daughter, Caper, who is in Austria. And so, being able to spend more time with my new grandbaby is very important. And then we have our two cousins, Donnie and Cameron, that we raised as sons. Our youngest, Cameron, just graduated from Hampton University in June. So that's like getting a pay increase in and of itself, as most folks will know. And so, I am looking forward to, and of course, my mom is still with me, but she has dementia, and so her health has declined in recent years. So I'm looking forward to being able to have more flexibility. So I tell folks I'm not putting my foot on the brakes. I'm just taking my foot off the gas. Very excited about this new chapter ahead as well.
Yeah, and it's no secret around here. We're gonna keep looking for you, putting the foot on the gas as well. And also, congratulations on the new pirate. I know we have a few Hampton pirates on online as well, so shout out to them. Finally, my last question for those future public servants who are just starting and wonder whether this field is right for them, what insight would you like to share?
Well, the field is definitely right for you. So I would say for anyone who's interested in going to the public service, federal, state, local level, internationally, working in the nonprofit sector, I always tell people the word public has the letter U in it. So you're already a fit. And the amazing work that you can do. We need people from all walks of life in the public service. One of my favorite sayings is this Indian proverb that says, only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. And that's
Mm,
true for oftentimes public policies. We can think about education policy, transportation policy, whatever policy. But if we haven't experienced a lot of those things firsthand, a lot of times that manifests itself in policy that can be confusing, complicated, and quite frankly ineffective and expensive. And we need to be good stewards of the public resources that we've been entrusted with. And so having more wearers there to know how the shoe pinches is important. So that means we need people from all walks of life in the broadest sense of diversity, equity, and inclusion that we can have. We need all of those individuals at the table. Because with that, we're able to have some of the best outcomes for society in any policy area because we're also getting input and leadership from those who have experienced a particular policy firsthand. And so I strongly encourage students to go into a public service career. It's very, very rewarding, very, very compelling. The work, of course, never ends, but the impact is absolutely amazing.
absolutely. So now we're going to switch over to audience questions. First one up. As you reflect on more than 3 decades of leadership and service at the Wilder School, what would you say has been the most challenging aspect of your role as dean, and how did you navigate or overcome that challenge?
Well, I would say probably, well, you always have the challenge of having a lot of ideas and a lot of things that you want to do, but you have the constraints of time and the constraints of resources. One of the biggest challenges I think for higher education in general, and certainly for our students in the Wilder School, is you do think about the financial costs, the economic challenges of attending college. Getting a degree is still a very worthwhile investment. All of the indicators show, if you look at earnings, lifetime earnings, having a skill, having a college degree definitely pays off. But it has also gotten to the point where it's become very, very expensive. And as you know, Stephen, because you're out there, oftentimes we're out there together, fundraising,
Absolutely.
trying to have scholarships for our students, but
Yep.
the need exceeds what we're able to support. And so I think the biggest challenge is really, especially for students enrolling in college today, really being able to bear the financial costs. Because we don't want college to become something that's only for the elite, only for the wealthy. Because again, it goes back to, especially in public service, we need folks from all walks of life. And so the cost of college and the limited amount of scholarships that we're able to provide is certainly remains a big challenge.
No, that's huge. And I think that leads very well into our next question from the audience, which is uh, what I like to call in my industry the $1 million question. What have you enjoyed the most? Maybe one or two things from your tenure as dean of the Wilder School, and if you had a magic wand and all the resources, what would you envision, enact, and establish for the Wilder School and its continued success?
Well, if I had a magic wand and all the resources, those who know me best would say the Wilder School would definitely have a brand new building. because we are spread out. We've continued to grow. And we've, really, we're ripe for having resources and infrastructure that aligns with our national prominence and success. I think I am encouraged by our current provost, Art Saavedra, who I think will be supportive of us going forward in the future. But once you put all the resources in the world there, I couldn't let this opportunity go bypass to say the Wilder School could certainly use a new building. Um, I would also say some of the things that have been, you asked the things that have been most rewarding. I'll start inwardly and saying learning so much more about the school. Even though I had been and have continued to be a part of the faculty now for over 20 years, I didn't know as much about the school as I know now. I mean, certainly I had colleagues in other units. We have criminal justice, urban and regional planning, my own field, public administration, homeland security and emergency preparedness, public policy. We had all of the wonderful fields within the Wilder School. Um, but to be able to really know and learn about the units, as well as our centers and institutes. I had served previously as executive director of the Gracie Harris Leadership Institute. As you mentioned, we were fortunate to be able to establish the Research Institute for Social Equity and appreciate doing that. But the wonderful work, the Virginia Executive Institute, our Commonwealth Leadership Academy, just so many great things. I mean, even the Commonwealth poll, I wasn't heavily involved with the Commonwealth poll, which routinely collects data on policy preferences of citizens and residents in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So our student services team and all the hard work that they do, to provide information, resources, outstanding academic advising and internship support for our students, alumni relations, the work that you all do. So I think one of the things that I've enjoyed the most is learning more about the full operations of the school and how complex they are. And then, of course, my peers, being able to connect with other deans of public affairs schools through the work of the Volcker Alliance. There's something called the Dean Summit. We were able to host it at the Wilder School a couple of years ago, and Governor Wilder was the keynote speaker. But we were, being able to go around to the Clinton School and to, other schools. It was a great opportunity to really learn more about other schools, interact with other deans. And so, the thing that I have enjoyed the most is learning so much, and also learning much more about the wonderful research that our faculty is doing, whether it's in sustainability and the work that Damian Pitt is doing there with the Institute of Sustainability. I mean, the RVA Eviction Lab with Ben Teresa's work and the great work that he's doing there. I mean, so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Will Pelfrey is on, he's always giving great commentary. Jay Albanese writes a book, every year or sometimes twice a year, so really being able to more fully engage in the research of our faculty and the training programs that we're doing. And I've learned so much about what my colleagues are doing. When we're nominating them for awards, you have an opportunity to read more about their background. Sarah Raskin and her work with the dental school. I mean, it just, the list goes on and on and on. And so that's been most rewarding to me, really being able to learn more about the research and the scholarly pursuits of our faculty, the interests of our students, and seeing our students be so successful. I've just learned so much throughout this entire process, and that's been very rewarding.
I'll jump around a little bit. We have a question from Brendan at the Moakley Center, Suffolk University. He asks, it's always a pleasure hearing from you about your important work around, social equity. Do we at universities need to be changing our approach to teaching and advocacy on DEI issues in 2026?
So I would first of all, I would say I don't think there's just one approach. So I think there are multiple approaches to this work as it should be. And that's the same for anything. If we were talking about housing policy or transportation policy, there's not just a single approach. The equity work that we do is grounded in our constitutional principles. We the people being created equal. These are concrete constitutional principles that are universally, I think, supported and enjoyed. The manifestation of those principles is where we have differences of opinion. But fundamentally, I think there's broad support for diversity, equity, and inclusion in terms of those principles and what they represent. And so, do we have to think through and how we approach the work? Of course, we should. Do we think through how we are innovative and continue to be pioneering in this space? Yes, we do. But the fundamental commitment is there. The fundamental commitment remains. And so I think it really takes a diversity of approaches as well to continue to move this work forward. I tell folks that the equity work will go on in season or out of season. It's not a seasonal thing, and so we have a responsibility, really an obligation, because we are about public service, and public service by definition includes everyone.
And I just have to say to our audience, the things that she says are her sayings. We hear them here at the Wilder School. She lives these things. So this is not new information for us in the Wilder School. So I hope you guys are soaking it in. Let's stay in that realm because we had a really great question just based on your career, Dr. Gooden. What advice would you give to women entering the field of public administration, given your exemplary academic career?
Mhm. Well, I would say to women in particular that one of the things that we see in public policy and public service is we know that public policies originally and historically were designed for the benefit of men. And so there's a lot of catching up that has to happen in that space. So issues that disproportionately impact women, particularly issues related to gender or women's health care or maternity leave policies or, those types of things have always been far behind some of the other issues that disproportionately impact men. So, for example, we have more male veterans, and so we've always had a commitment to veterans, and we should. They've done wonderful service. I commend their service and appreciate all that our veterans have done. Um, at the same time, we should also appreciate the hard work that occupations that are predominantly women dominated have also done. Oftentimes, we find in terms of pay equity, I think of the work that happens. Women's labor, historically, women's labor still pays a lot lower than historically male occupations. And so there are some real pay equity gaps, glass ceiling, gender gaps that are there. Um, but my advice would be again to anyone, not just women, but to anyone, get into the field of public service, because again, that's just another example of a population that has been traditionally underrepresented, and we need those voices. We need those voices in public policy and leadership, in mid-level management, front level, entry level, all throughout the organization. Those voices are important, and we need them.
And this will be our last question here. So, reflecting on your professional journey and your current transition, what wisdom would you share with your younger self as she would embark on a career after completing her doctorate at Syracuse University?
Um, well, the first thing I would say is take advantage of opportunities. I cannot underscore that enough. I talk to folks every day, and I'm sure I did it myself, that you can second guess sometimes an opportunity that may be coming your way. Is this a good fit? Can I do this? Those types of things. And you can find yourself talking yourself out of something, out of a good opportunity, because of barriers that or obstacles that you're manufacturing largely in your head. And so, really taking advantage of those opportunities. I proudly, one of the things that I would do once a month was an event in the Wilder School called Free Food Friday with the Dean. And we would just come there, and our students would come, faculty would come. We wouldn't have an agenda. We just have pizza and an opportunity to interact. And being able to talk to students and find out what some of their aspirations were and have some casual conversations, I think had some positive impact on students in terms of should they go for a particular experience, should they even apply for a particular opportunity. And so I think I would encourage all of us, but particularly those who are much younger than I am, to take advantage of those opportunities. When you go to a reception, don't just talk to the people you know. Branch out and talk to the people you don't know, because you don't know where that research source, where that opportunity is going to be. I was at, my husband is from the country too. He's from Buckingham County. I was in Buckingham County at NAACP banquet that my sister-in-law Joyce invited us to, and I happened to be sitting beside a young lady who was trying to decide where she wanted to go, what she wanted to do with her future. And I said, hey, she was talking about master's programs. I said, have you thought about the Wilder School? Let me tell you about the Wilder School. And so I talked to her. I gave her my information. And then I got her email. I didn't just say, go to the website. Who wants to hear that, right? Just go to the website, right? I took the initiative of getting her information, and I connected her with our recruitment coordinator, Ross, and said, hey, Ross, I met this wonderful young lady. She's interested in a master's degree, pursuing it. She applied, got accepted, and is now going to be joining in the fall. All because, we started talking. We didn't know each other before then. And so you just never know where an opportunity is going to be. Opportunities can show up in, the strangest of places. And so take advantage of those opportunities.
That's huge. That's huge advice. And I hope everyone listening wrote that down. You never know who you meet, and you never know where it could take you. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us and your story with us, Dean Gooden, especially as it relates to, your family and, what you'll be doing in the future. Speaking of the future, I understand you want to make some closing remarks, so I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Well, thanks so much, Stephen. And again, I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining our Lunch and Learn today. I really appreciate, from the bottom of my heart, the partnership that we have had, whether you've been a faculty member, a friend, a colleague, an alum, all that we have accomplished in the Wilder School, and all that the Wilder School will continue to accomplish. And beyond that, all that public service will accomplish is really because of the investment of each of you and the dedication of each of you. And together, collectively, we can do many, many powerful things. So I think we have to keep our hands on the plow, and we have to continue to work. I said that I would be playing a different position, still on the Wilder School team, but in a different position. And it gives me a great delight to introduce a great friend of mine who has been named the interim dean of the L. Douglas Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs, Robin McDougall. Robin currently serves as our Associate Dean of Research and Outreach. And I have had the great pleasure of working with Robin. Many people don't know, Robin and I have been at the Wilder School the exact same length of time. We went through new employee orientation together many, many years ago. That's when I first met Robin. She was a new assistant professor. I had transferred from Virginia Tech, where I had gotten tenure there. And so it's been a pleasure and a delight to work with Robin for all of these years. I know the Wilder School is going to be in excellent hands, and I want to provide a moment for Robin to make any comments that she would like to make to the group and to let everyone know that Robin has my complete support. And I am just thrilled and looking forward to the future of the Wilder School under Robin's leadership. Incoming Dean McDougall.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. First of all, just everything we have done over our time, but most importantly, the honor and privilege of being able to work with Susan over the last 8 years in the Associate Dean role of Research and Outreach. Steven said it perfectly. Everything you heard today, she lives in and out every day. It is in her DNA. It is in our DNA. And what is so exciting for me is to continue to spread and share that same message and focus at the Wilder School. So we're really looking forward to welcoming our newest Wilder alum, which will be Bonnie Sage, straight from Vienna. But most importantly, to thank Susan for everything that she's done. And today was just a snippet of the amazing career that she has, one that is not ending, one that is just taking a different turn in the road. But I'm really honored and privileged to step in as the interim dean over the next period of time for the Wilder School. As Susan said, this has been my home for 22 years, and I've had the opportunity in the criminal justice program as well as in the centers and institutes, and now as the associate dean, to be able to experience so many of the amazing people, objectives, jobs, goals that the Wilder School does. So it's really an honor to continue to work forward with that. And, in good stead, I'm so excited. I am an alumni of the Wilder School with my master's degree in criminal justice. And so it's really exciting to be part of this group as well, and to really work with Steven and Danita and our entire alumni of the Wilder School, both within our academic programs and our centers and institutes, and to continue to build and grow that relationship and that partnership around the country and around the world, as we saw today. So with that, I just say thank you to everyone. Thank you so much to Susan for being not only an amazing dean, but a phenomenal leader, mentor, guide, and a focus of good and light for us. And we will continue to look toward that as you enjoy your sabbatical and your work there. With that, Steven, I will turn it back over to you so that we can talk about July's Lunch and Learn, because it is definitely a great one that we're looking forward to in July.
Yeah, and congratulations, Dr. McDougall, on your elevation to interim dean. I look forward to working with you over the next year, and hopefully into the future past that as well. Again, Dean Gooden, thank you for being generous with your time, with your story, and with your advice. And I don't make it any secret around here. If it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't even be at VCU. And I thank you for
You were
giving
a
me the
fantastic
opportunity.
hire, Steven. So
I thank you for giving me the
we
opportunity
stole you
to.
from Carolina. I try not to tell my husband that. So you were
Yeah,
doing
well,
well.
well,
So
look, I think it was a great move, and I thank you so much for the opportunity. So we'll switch gears a little bit as we wrap up here. Again, thank you to all our audience who joined us today. There are so many congratulations for Dean Gooden in the chat right now. There are so many states and countries and cities that are represented in the chat. So thank you all for joining us today on this June day, and for your lunch. Um, I'll encourage you to actually join us next month for the Wilder School Lunch and Learn on Wednesday, July 15th, where we'll have Kevin McNulty, who will discuss the data center's future and navigating a rapidly shifting policy and political landscape. So watch your inbox for that invite, and the RSVP link is actually in the chat. I also want to thank our bold and our courageous communications team behind the scenes. If you all only knew what was going on behind the scenes before we lead up to these sessions, you'd understand just how much more Dean Gooden's leadership is important to us, and our communication team is that much more important to us as well. And they help us, make this session happen every month. And then again, thank you for joining us for lunch. We appreciate your time, and we hope to see you again next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.